Hi ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to COM 232. This is your introduction to InDesign, which is going to be a really exciting course for you. We're going to be doing a number of really fun projects this session, and the first one that you get to take a look at here as a visual is a book cover sample that you're going to be creating for an imaginary book. We give you 3 possible clients to choose from and what style you want them to be. The purpose of this tutorial, however, is to give you an opportunity to see through your own faculty's voices and suggestions on how to get started in InDesign. There's a myriad of options out there for you to do research on, and I believe that a number of your faculty have given you links in preparation for this course. But now that you're here, we want to give you a little bit more. So, I'm here in InDesign, and the system that we're working on right now does not allow me to show you at the top navigation the main links that go with InDesign. So in the case of our, what I'm looking at that you can't see is you have a word right up here called InDesign in here, File, Edit, Layout, Type, Object, Table, View, Window, and Help. Now I am running this tutorial on a 5.5 version in the CS system of Adobe InDesign. So with that, there may be some slight variation, but not much. Okay, now I would like to show you what our tutorials, or our templates are going to look like. We will be providing you templates for some of your projects. And I think this is a nice chance for you to sort of ease into the process of how to look at professional documents in preparation for projects, as well as think about what you could use in the future as you're building them yourself. You're welcome to use the templates that we have here for your own projects, but think about them in terms of some of the registrations that we're going to provide. For example, let's zoom in here. I'm going to use the magnifying glass. I'm going to hold down and zoom in. Now, the actual document edge that you have is going to be what's called the trim, and that's the red dashed line. The green line here is going to be your live area, meaning that depending on certain types of printers that you're going to send projects out to, they would recommend that you keep everything that's important inside the live area. If you wanted to have something that bled off the side of the edge, of course we want you to then have it be going off at like 1/8 to 1/4 inch on each edge. The reason for that is also printer issues in terms of them making a print project with other print projects. You want to make sure that yours does not get cropped in a funny way. So taking a look then, what we have is a breakdown of these 3 different areas. And for your project here, you're going to see that this is actually one, for the book cover, you're going to see this is one large document divided into 3 sections. You have the front cover of your book here, which the edge of it then is in this area, which is almost a square. It's something like 7.1 inches by 8 inches. You have your book binding, and then you have the back of your book. To get going on your own project though, we would like you to turn off all of our notes for you, which if you look over here in your layers tab, you can use the little eyeball up here, much like how we do in Photoshop and Illustrator if we don't want to look at something. And that will turn off all the notes. That takes away the extraneous noise, visual noise for you, and that leaves the colors here, but I'm going to show you a trick that we have. If you come down, and there's many different ways to look at your toolbar, if you double click on the top here, it will come up in different ways. I do myself like the double column, and that reasoning is because down here it gives you a preview of what your work's going to look like. And what I do like in that is that it's going to get rid of those guides, but those guides do remain when you go back to your working workspace view, because that's going to give you the assistance that you need in terms of understanding the space that you have to work with. So I showed you when we first called open the page, taking a look at this picture and this text. The reason I left it there was because there was a beginning in terms of the way in which we're going to bring visuals and text into InDesign, and I want us to look at that. So we're going to look at how to start a document fresh from scratch. We're also going to look at how to bring those components into a pre-designed template that will help you figure out how to deal with that. So let's start from scratch. Let's start from looking at a document that's brand new. Now something that you cannot see on this side, let's see, let me get rid of this for you, is I would like everyone to make a folder on their desktop. In my case, I call it InDesign Jocelyn. Make it something that is your name but signifies the projects that you're working on. Now, what's going on here is that I want you to have a folder that's going to host all of the content that you're going to be using for every single project that you're doing. Something that's happening when you're working with InDesign is that the type of software that it is made to be a link to things. It's not made to be the host that holds, like in Photoshop, where you cut and paste things in and they are permanently in your graphic. InDesign is more of a link system, so that what that means is that you can have outside extraneous components and only reference them, but then make those changes to those outside components in other software, so that when you bring them into InDesign, they are the way that you want them. Let's say that your opinion changes of how you want a graphic, but you don't want to have to replace it into InDesign. You can make the change outside, do what's called an update to the link, and all that means is you push a little button over here in your links area, and let's see, for example, if I was trying, what I'm talking about then is if I was trying to make an edit to a picture and I made a change to this photograph of the dog in Photoshop, let's say I changed the color of him or I cut him a little differently along the edge, I could come here and I could do what's called update the link, which it would have a little caution sign right here next to me if I had made a change outside InDesign. And I could come here and do an update, and what that would do is it would cause everything to be refreshed, and the changes that you made outside would be shown here. All of that is to say then that I want you to be making a folder on the desktop that hosts document, which would be perhaps the text that a client provided you with, the pictures that you're going to use, any inspirational content. You can at times, and I'll say this, you can place things on the side of a document, if we're not in preview mode, which can act as a sort of workspace or artboard as they call it. I'm going to call this your canvas, which is the work area, but it's going to allow you to see maybe other things that you want to bring in or you're not sure how you're going to bring it in. Now let's start from scratch. I'm at the top, I'm going to go next to the InDesign title on my main top navigation. I'm going to go to File, New. I'm going to make a new document. Now, some people will not see the inches here. That just means that you need to change the units for your InDesign system, and that's going to be, if you come up here to the top, there's an InDesign title, it's your top nav, and you're going to go into Preferences, and you're going to come down and you're going to change it in inches and increments. I do believe that it's easiest for most of us who are beginning to think about these physical pieces that we're creating in InDesign based in inches. The reason for that is the inches provides us a tangible concept of what it is we're creating and how it's going to go out into the world. In this particular case, let's make a book cover which is going to be smaller than a paper, so let's say 6.5 by 8 inches. In the particular, for particular purposes as related to this tutorial then, we're only going to have it be one page, but sometimes if you're working on a project, it'll be multiple pages. For the final that you're going to be working on, it's going to be a 4-page newsletter. So in that case, you're going to come here and you're going to change it to page number. You can start at 1, but have it be 4 pages. Okay, so we're going to get started. When we get started, it comes in looking like this. Preview mode, that way. Work mode, this way. Now, what this is, this purple and pink edging here that we have in the CS5.5, is just a border for you. It's a margin that's giving you a heads up of what a 1/4 inch in, or in my case, a 1/2 inch. I'm looking at my ruler's view up here at the top. And that's going to just prepare me for what is best. When we are designing, it is smart to think about not having things bleed to the edge that is the most important content. If you were designing something and you wanted the words to go off the edge, typically, and most commonly, we faculty agree that you're only going to do that if the context of the subject that you're working on is using that form to speak to the concept. So meaning if your title was something like Off the Edge and you had your letters written down at a diagonal going off the edge, that would make a lot more sense. Okay, let's go back to some more of these basics. So over here in your keyboard, or in your toolbar, you have these different boxes here. The X through the box is a rectangular frame tool. What that's going to do is I'm going to hold down and drag, and I'm going to come to File, Place. Now I'm going to go back to that folder of mine, which has already been queued up here, InDesign Jocelyn, and I'm going to come to Shepherd Copy. It's going to place that picture in for me. Now notice this box, it does have a blue border around it, which for some of us is very helpful, others of us is frustrating. If you don't like how that looks, you could come to View, Extras, and come to Hide Frame Edges. And all that does is that takes that box away when you're not working on it. Now, the box that you have the dog in right now is designed as a crop box. It's controlling what we see of an image. If I wanted to extend the entire picture, I would extend the box that the picture is in to the extreme. Now, the dog itself is almost as big as my document. Let me go to Command 0 for us Mac people. It would be Control 0 for PC people, and that would be just that you're going to get your document in full frame view. Now, the dog does fit, but if we come to preview mode, you'll notice that the dog is awfully close to the edges. And typically we want there to be a little bit more of a margin just for what we call a balance to the composition, as well as, and this sounds so silly, but giving our eyes a rest, creating a restfulness. What we're going to do then is we're going to come in and I'm going to take the crop box and I'm going to size it down for myself. But what I still want to do is I still want to have the whole dog in that box. So we're going to come to the white arrow. If we click on the picture, you'll notice that it puts us into this brown frame now. That frame is telling us that is the size of the actual picture. I'm going to hold down Shift and resize the picture, centering him a little bit more. And again, you'll notice he's cropped down here. So I'm going to bring him down. I'm going to go back to the black arrow and make him bigger, or make that a little bigger, and come into my preview mode and find that it does look a lot better. All right, we're going to stop here and come back in a moment, and we're going to complete with looking at our larger template design as well as how to add text. Thanks.